Let's bring in Republican U.S. Senate candidate for Arizona, Kari Lake. Kari, hopefully you were listening in on what was going on. Wanted to get your thought. Feel free to expand beyond just what we're seeing here, including what's going on in the campuses right now.
Well, I was really impressed with that student and the way he articulated the reality on the ground at not only Penn, but so many other colleges and universities around this country. It's alarming what's happening. It's shocking what's happening. And then when you find out the money that's being pumped into these pro-Hamas terror groups that have encamped themselves on our many state-owned campuses, and you find out it's being money that's pumped in. Same people who are pumping money into Joe Biden's campaign are pumping money into this chaos on our campus. And our students aren't safe there. You know, I'm all about free speech. This is not free speech. They are breaking the law, and they are, thumbing their nose to any laws that are on the books. It's unsafe. I applaud that brave, courageous student for speaking out about it and laying down what's going on. And it needs to stop. But I don't think it will under Joe Biden's administration. He's completely inept. His administration is weaponized against the people, and they don't care who they hurt as long as they keep the pressure away from what's really going on, which is the distraction of Joe Biden's destructive policies that have made our campuses unsafe, our city streets unsafe, our border wide open, our economy in the toilet.
Kari, you're running for U.S. Senate. What can the Senate and the House of Representatives do to put pressure on these universities and these chancellors at these universities to quell these protests or to take action, with the police if there's destruction, if there's vandalism, or if there's any violence?
I think we have to start pulling back money. Federal funding for these universities needs to be pulled if this kind of activity continues on campuses. It's unsafe. And we're allowing for anti-Americanism, pro-terrorist folks to encamp on our campus. I mean, think about that for a minute. Talk about insanity. This is what's happening on our campuses. And I think we need to pull back money to these universities until something is done. And then consider helping provide security for students so that they're safe on their campuses.
Yeah, and when you think about it, all of them who are tax exempt, like the private institutions even, they may not be getting money directly, but they're certainly getting it indirectly from all of us as taxpayers.
That's right, absolutely. So many of them get perks here and there, depending on what their status is. And to allow this kind of activity, these are centers for higher learning and education. And unfortunately, our kids are getting an education in what anti-Semitism is right now. If this were happening, if the attacks were going on against other folks, whether it be students of color, whether it be women, it would be unacceptable. It should be unacceptable when it involves our students who are Jewish as well. And it needs to stop. And I know that when President Trump gets in office, this kind of activity will stop. He will not put up with it. And we will bring back true learning and true education to our educational institutions.
Well, Kari, speaking of President Trump, the news today is that he has accepted debate. Joe Biden's accepted actually Donald Trump's challenge to debate today. There's two confirmed debates, one in June and one in September. What do you think this debate is going to look like? I mean, we know there's going to be no studio audience. We know that, CNN has got one debate and ABC has got the other. So, I mean, what are your anticipation or expectations for this June debate?
Well, pop your popcorn and gather around. It's going to be good. I saw that Joe Biden released a video agreeing to debate President Trump. Of course, if you noticed in that video, it had 5 quick edits in about 13 seconds. So that didn't give me much faith in Joe's ability to go a few rounds in the ring with the master, President Trump. I am happy, though, that it's happening. Obviously, the American people deserve to see and compare and contrast between the two candidates. I did find it telling that Biden's team released that list of demands for this debate. It's meant, obviously, to minimize potential embarrassment for stumbling Joe. They obviously have no faith in his ability to speak coherently without protection from biased moderators, like I think you mentioned CNN and ABC. So they're trying to stack the deck. It's not going to work. President Trump is a great debater. He's going to make mincemeat out of Crooked Joe. And I will say this, I recently challenged my Democrat opponent, Ruben Gallego, to a debate on the one issue that he likes to talk about. And unlike Joe, Ruben Gallego didn't dare to agree to that debate. And frankly, it's because the minute Joe goes off script, the American people will know he's mentally diminished. And the minute Ruben Gallego starts ad-libbing, they're going to know he's radical and unhinged. So I think the people of America, the people of Arizona, deserve to know where their candidates stand. I'm ready to debate Ruben Gallego. I know President Trump is ready to debate Joe Biden, and we're going to show people what America First policies will do for this country versus the destructive, dead-end, deadly policies of people like Joe Biden and Ruben Gallego.
Yeah, I think the topic you offered to debate him on was abortion. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, which is an interesting topic throughout the country. In Arizona, certainly going through a lot, going back to an old law, and then, of course, that was done away with. What's your feeling about that, generally speaking, and whether the Republican Party, including yourself, should have a particular position on it? Or just leave it to the states, essentially the way President Trump is saying right now?
Oh, I think it's really obvious that that's what the Supreme Court ruled. It would be left to the states. And in Arizona, we have a 15-week law, and the Democrats are pushing for a law, a change to our Constitution that would allow abortion up until birth. But this is all Ruben Gallego wants to talk about. He's putting millions of dollars in ads on this topic. And I said, look, I will stand up and back up the policies that the people of Arizona choose. I will back up why we're pro-life and why we want to actually save babies, as many babies as possible, and help families, help women, help children. Those are our policies. I challenged him for an hour-long debate, and he won't do it. He's afraid because he knows that he would have to defend abortion right up until 9 months. You know, in Hungary, they never, ever changed a law, and they cut the number of abortions in half by pushing pro-family policy and legislation. And I think we can do that here, show families that we support them, show women that we do support them. But again, you know, the Democrats never want to debate. They want to run, hide, cower, and run a bunch of attack ads and think they can win that way.
Kari, there was a New York Times Siena poll, the battleground state poll that came out this week, where Donald Trump was ahead in Arizona of Joe Biden, and it wasn't even within the margin of error. It was a big lead. Yet your race against Ruben Gallego is neck and neck. Why do you think that is?
Well, I know in that poll, they underrepresented Republicans. When you look at actually the statistics of how many additional Republicans we have percentage-wise, they underrepresented Republicans by about 10 points. So when you rebalance it, it is a close race, but I'm very comfortable we're going to win this. Look, Ruben Gallego has voted 100% of the time with Joe Biden. He's voted to have a wide open border. He's voted to make sure that we see tax increases, which, by the way, come January of 2025. If we don't get Trump and Kari Lake in the U.S. Senate, and we get someone like Biden and Gallego, we will see the largest tax increase ever imposed on the people of this country. Ruben Gallego is a guy who marches and defund the police rallies. He is for torturous regulations and taxes on our oil and energy producers that would add an additional $1 to the price of gasoline per gallon, which is already so high. He and Joe Biden are responsible for this disastrous economy where people can't afford the basics anymore. We just found out today that inflation went up again. Prices are way up and wages are down because of the wide open border where people are pouring in, taking jobs and keeping wages low. The people really, really suffering right now are people who are lower income and middle income, many of them having to work not only 2 jobs, but now in addition, occasionally taking on a 3rd job just to get by. And our food banks are being taxed by these people who have to go in to help make ends meet, get food at food banks. This is not the American way. We need to do better, and we can do better when we have America First policies, which I know President Trump will bring us, and I will support in the U.S. Senate.
Well, Kari Lake, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.